Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. Thank you once again for joining us for another show. Taking it back, gone back to the old sofa again to do this video. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Frank Warren has come out and has made a few statements regarding his thoughts. Good evening, Joey. Thank you very much. Had to be done. It was about time. Frank Warren's made a few statements regarding Eddie Hearn and his pretty ludicrous statements, but Frank Warren's pretty rubbished what Eddie Hearn's had to say. And I, for one, would know that Frank Warren, obviously, there's a chance to dig your heels in, or there's an opportunity. Look 10 years younger, I know. There's an opportunity for you to dig your heels in or to dig in and get one over the enemy, then you will do. So Frank, seeing an opportunity like this, would see an opportunity to strike for it. When were you working as security on a club in Brighton? I never was, mate. I was an assistant manager. You funny, man. You funny. Anyway, let's get into what Frank Warren was saying. So this interview was done on TalkSport. You can go to the TalkSport website to see it. He says, Frank Warren has dismissed the nonsense claim that rival Eddie Hearn that Andy Ruiz could be stripped of the world heavyweight titles if he refused to fight Anthony Joshua in Saudi Arabia. Hearn's Matchroom Boxing announced that last week the highly anticipated rematch would take place in Saudi Arabia on December the 7th, confirming Ruiz and his team had 100% signed the contract for this fight. However, the 29-year-old WBO, WBA, IBF champion took to social media on Wednesday to say he had no intention of going to the Middle East, and instead the fight would be staged in the United States again following this stunning victory over Joshua in New York in June. Ruiz's announcement was met by a warning from Hearn, who said that a Mexican-American fighter must honor his contract for the Joshua rematch, or face being stripped of his titles and being caught up in a legal battle that could put him out of boxing for years. Now, rival promoter Warren has rubbished Hearn's claims and says Ruiz has every right to refuse to travel to Saudi Arabia, as the US government has advised American citizens not to travel there. Speaking on Thursday's Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast, Warren said Eddie has a point that he's got a contract with him, but he's got a real problem in saying he'll be stripped of his titles. That's not up to him at all. The titles belong to the governing bodies. The bottom line is the US State Department advises its citizens not to go to Saudi Arabia for many reasons. The killing of the journalist Jamal, human rights issues. They've got a long paragraph on torture, cruel and inhumane treatment, women's rights, and it talks about the risk of going to airports where terrorism may attack. That's all on their official website. His own government is telling him his life could be in danger. All this nonsense about having his titles taken away from him, that is nonsense. You can be sued for breach of contract, and he may have a point there, but it's not an easy case. That is for sure. He has a very, very strong position for not traveling. When announcing the fight at the press conference in the Middle East, conspicuously without either fighter, Hearn said he hoped the rematch in Saudi Arabia, being dubbed the Clash on the Dunes, would help change boxing forever. He cited Muhammad Ali's fights against George Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle, and Joe Frazier at the Thriller in Manila, which helped grow the heavyweight division's popularity across the world. But Warren is not fooled, and neither am I. Asked why Hearn has pushed us to stage a fight in Saudi Arabia, he replied, it's because Eddie Hearn wants to broaden boxing's appeal around the world. No, of course not. It's bloody money. Come on now. We all know what it's all about. It's purely about money, no more than that. You won't be taking your wives or girlfriends because we know that the situation is there. There's no drinking there, which I accept because it's their religious beliefs, but it's hardly the usual environment for a boxing match, or indeed many sporting events. Whether it goes ahead or not, I have no idea. I found it very odd to announce a fight with either of the boxers there, and Ruiz has been quite vociferous about saying he has no intentions of fighting there. So the full interview is available on TalkSport. Oh, it's funny. It is funny. It is funny. You have to laugh, don't you? Salute BWTM. Yes, salute to you too. Ruiz replied that Saudi Arabia wasn't safe for Americans to travel, but US government has Saudi as level 2 threat, same as Mexico and the UK. LOL. Check the website. It's there now. Sultan, you sound like Hatman. Good evening from miserable and wet York. Oh, yeah, it's miserable and wet here in Worthing in Sussex. 20 miles away from me, Glenn. Salute. Where you at, mate? Leeds way. Hull way. Some good ladies in York travelling tomorrow. Okay, fight school are there. Evening from rainy Scotland. Good evening to rainy Scotland. Brass House. LOL. So yeah, well, okay. Smash the like button while you're in the room. Let's get into this. Look, like I said before, there will be loopholes, and if there's anybody in the world who's gonna get through those loopholes, it's Al Heyman. I said it to you before. I'll say it to you again. And Frank Warren is saying that, Ruiz has got a very good chance, a very strong chance of putting these things forward about Saudi Arabia and saying, look, why don't we just do the fight in America? We can make as much money as possible in America. I'm the champion. Why should I have to fight in Saudi Arabia? We fought there before. It was safe and well. It was a big event. Let's do it again there. So, I just find it whole funny. But the thing is, you need to have two fighters or a fighter at the press conference. The thing is, that's what you need at a press conference. So for me, personally speaking, I don't know how you can hold a press conference of that magnitude and not have the two fighters there. More to the point, this is going to be next week. For you to attend a press conference, you need to sign a contract. So we'll see how this pans out. Now, there's other stories going on around now that Andy Ruiz doesn't want to fight Anthony Joshua. There may be some truth in that. He doesn't want to fight him in Saudi Arabia. I'm sure he'll fight him in America. So Frank Warren has much more to say. So I'm going to go back and add what else Frank Warren's had to say as well, because it was quite interesting what he had to say. So I'm going to add to what Frank Warren had to say, because this, again, is all part of that interview that they did yesterday with TalkSport. And he says, Andy Ruiz Jr. will beat Anthony Joshua again in rematch wherever fight takes place, insists boxing promoter Frank Warren. So let's hear what Frank's got to say about it. Frank says this: you can only look at what you see last time. And Ruiz took AJ's best shot and got off the floor and took the fight to him. This is what Warren continues to say. He goes, you saw that AJ couldn't take what Ruiz did with him. He put it on him. He was on the floor 2 or 3 times and never won a round of the fight after the knockdown. Not one round. And remember, this was the guy who took the fight on 5 to 6 weeks notice. This time around, if he does fight, wherever it takes place, he would have at least 10 to 12 weeks in training camp. I'm not saying it's going to make a lot of difference to his physical appearance, but certainly mentally he'll be better prepared for it and he will be more fitter. I don't see much of a different outcome this time round. So Fury said it was all about Joshua at the time, and when he was fighting Ruiz, nobody gave Ruiz a praise. This is what Tyson Fury says. But now it's about Ruiz, and I believe Ruiz does exactly the same second time round. When asked if he anticipated another knockout, Fury continued, 1,000,000%. I thought Ruiz won every round in that fight. It wasn't like a fluke punch like Hasim Rahman or Lennox Lewis. And then in the rematch, he turned up and didn't get hit with the same punch and knocked him out. He clearly lost the rounds. He was getting out boxed. He was getting out fought. Then he got knocked down 2-3 times, or 2 to boot. So I don't really see him improving, not unless he comes in on his toes and tries to do a Tyson Fury and slip out of the way, which he doesn't have the body type or boxing ability to do. So that's what Tyson Fury and that's what Tyson Fury has to say about the matter with Frank Warren. Let me bring some other stories up as well. Let me bring some other stories up as well. Right. Let's see what people are saying. Hearn with Hearn. Troops Ruiz will be wearing sliders in the sand. Joshua White too already lined up behind the scenes for Saudi. They knew Ruiz wouldn't travel. He has lost loads of weight. As Joshua, is that gonna make any difference? I doubt it. No, I don't think it makes a difference either. But there's more to add to this story. Let me see what else I can get you as well to read about, because very interesting stuff here. But did I not say to you all that when I did this, I said before, Ruiz had 5 to 6 weeks to prepare for the fight. This time he gets a full training camp to fight Anthony Joshua. So surely he will improve. So everyone's saying Joshua will improve. But Joshua had a full training camp. So I'm not quite sure where that kind of comes from. I don't know which some people think that somehow Joshua's going to get a better training camp this time and he'll do better. But I can't see it somehow. I really can't see what Joshua does different. So, yeah. Makes a difference with stamina, and if he's learned some lessons on how to box, so you think he's going to learn how to box? You think he's going to learn how to box between now and whenever the fight's November, December? Right. It's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as that. These are habits, and you're not going to get those habits out in a couple of months' time. You're not. Ruiz is going to be fitter. He's going to be sharper. He's going to be faster. Robots can't box, unfortunately. So that's the problem we've got right here with this. So I just thought I'd mention that. So those are the articles. That's what Frank Warren's got to say. So if I'm a hater, then I guess Frank Warren's a hater as well. But that's what it is. What are your thoughts on it? What do you think of what Frank Warren's got to say? He boxes on tram lines. That's it. That is it. Back and forward. You've seen him on the cones. Back and forward, and he's still doing it. Back and forward, and he's on the treadmill going backwards like that, moving back like a mummy. So of course it's going to happen. Of course he's going to get himself knocked out, bro. I don't know. We shall wait and see what happens next in the developments. We shall see. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to add. Yesterday I said something about Hasim Rahman. I believe he has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. So my correction, I think he was inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. So congratulations to Hasim Rahman, now part of the Hall of Fame in boxing. I think it might be the Nevada Hall of Fame. I'm not sure, but he has been inducted. Right, so those are my thoughts. I think I've got much more to say on the matter. What I'm saying is if, LOL, if. Losing weight doesn't make you a better boxer. It might make you more mobile. It doesn't teach you how to throw a better jab. It doesn't teach you how to throw a better right hand. It doesn't teach you how to get out of the way of punches. It doesn't make your chin any better. It just makes you lost weight. That's all. So, with losing weight, also remember when he's holding something like Ruiz, he's easier to throw him off because he hasn't got that weight to hold him down. So I'm not too convinced that losing weight makes you a better boxer. It might make you fitter, maybe more athletic. It doesn't make you a better boxer, because boxing is about hit and not get hit. Boxing is about putting yourself in the positions to throw your shots and not being countered. It's about knowing when to engage and when not to engage. You know, it's about with Andy Ruiz knowing when to engage and when not to engage with him. Andy Ruiz is an experienced fighter. Keep on saying this. So we'll see. Right. I don't think there's much more I want to say on the matter. I don't think there's much more I've got to say. But yeah. Frank Warren on the case, dismissing what Eddie Hearn has to say, which is of no surprise. And Andy Ruiz has a very, very strong position about the Saudi Arabia situation. But like I said, if that's what if that's what Frank Warren's seen from the outside, just imagine what Al Heyman's got to say on the matter. Eddie Hearn is bringing us the greatest fights in boxing. Yeah, right. Okay, he might be bringing you the greatest fights in boxing. He isn't bringing me the greatest fights in boxing. See it here. Too much muscle screws the stamina. If he tidies up a couple of things, AJ and Ruiz will be a different fight. It will be different level fighters. Tidies up a couple of things. He thinks it's as simple as tidying up a couple of things. Oh well, you just go in there and you get him to throw the jab better, and it's not a physical thing. It's a mental thing. Sorry, do you prefer Fury versus Otto Wally? No, the best fight, the fight that if you give me 3 fights to watch, right? If you give me 3 fights to watch, yeah. If you gave me Joshua versus Ruiz 2, Fury versus Otto Wally, or Yard versus Kovalev, out of the 3, I want to watch Yard versus Kovalev, because I've seen how Joshua Ruiz 1 has gone, and Joshua got beat up there. He was beat up before he got in the ring because he handed the belts over to Ruiz. I think he was intimidated by Ruiz personally. And then you've got Fury versus Wallin, which I think Fury is going to cakewalk that. Maybe he'll go for it easy. And then you've got the fight between Yard and Kovalev. So many people talking about Yard versus Kovalev. So everyone's saying he's a hype job. He's this, he's that. Psychology. Are you a doctor or psychologist? Well, actually, I am. Believe it or not. So yeah, I am. So you find it funny, but it's not funny because I actually am. And it is psychological, and I'll tell you why it's psychological, because you're going to have to go back to the place where you got beat. That's the first thing. You have to go back to the guy that knocked you out, that dropped you four times. You have to go back to the guy that has smashed your unbeaten record. So of course it's a mental thing. Have you worked with AJ? I don't need to work with AJ. I don't need to work with AJ. You don't know anything about me, so you don't know who I've worked with. But I can tell you this much: I've worked in sport for over 20 years, right? And I've worked with some of the top sportsmen in the world. So you don't have to work with AJ to see that the guy is mentally weak. You don't need to work with him. The fact that he called in a sports psychologist because he was worried about getting knocked out, that says it all, you know. Yeah, he's a buffoon, a complete buffoon. If anyone pays pay-per-view for the Fury Wallen fight, then you're a mug. I absolutely agree there. Absolutely agree. Have I got anybody in this room who's got a? Let me see if I've got somebody in the room here. Let's see. Here we go. Can I just borrow the? Here we go. Add moderator. Joey, you've just got a. You've just got a. You've just got now a wrench. So if anybody silly in the room, you can get rid of them. Yeah, please do get rid of any buffoons in the room. We want to have a serious conversation this evening. I saw something on by Anthony. I saw something on Anthony Joshua and Lennox Lewis, and my further thoughts are this: Lennox Lewis, former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Joshua's been very arrogant recently. I don't know if he's been recently arrogant. I think he's just coming out into his own, and what's really happened is the cracks are beginning to show. That's what I see. Now, you've got to remember, Lennox Lewis, former undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. The people you really should be blaming is not Lennox Lewis. It's the Sky Sports team. You see, check this out for a second. If you're constantly blowing smoke up someone's ass, and you're constantly blowing them up, he's the best thing since sliced bread, he's great, the comparisons between him and Muhammad Ali, you know, and this and that, you can get rid of IGBO2 as well, out of the room, send him out of the room as well, please. We don't need him in the room either. That's another troll. Constantly boosting up all the time, boosting up Leonard. He's this, he's that. Anthony Joshua, and then you get the picture of Anthony Joshua standing over some Klitschko, like how Ali was standing over. I couldn't remember who the picture was, and they're both wearing white trunks. All this PR stuff, right? When you're constantly blowing things up, who's the greatest British heavyweight champion, and then you bring some other stories up as well. Hold on a second. You bring some other stories up as well. Close that off. Sorry about that. Apologies. You're constantly blowing up Anthony Joshua. You won't say nothing bad about Joshua. He's great. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. He's the greatest heavyweight in the last 20 years. Blah, 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 blah. You blow it out. So then when someone like Lennox Lewis comes along and says, you know what? He's good. But, he's not that good. He's got areas he needs to improve on. So he's saying that he's got areas he needs to improve on. And people say, Lennox is a hater. Well, he's not a hater. It's only Hassan Ratman is a hater as well. But just hold a second. Hassan Ratman always had an issue with Lennox anyway. Put that aside. He's an analyst. So you've got to remember the Sky Sports team have blown Joshua up so much. Yeah. And then these people can't think for themselves. They're brainwashed. So the majority of people just listen to what Sky says. So just imagine everything Sky says. People like this, and they go, whatever Sky say, it has to be the truth. So you've got that. And you've got Eddie on there as well. So Eddie's talking that garbage as well. All right? Like, we should be beating the likes of Andy Ruiz. And you listen to this guy going, really? So people have their mindsets like that. They can't think for themselves. And you find a lot of them come on social media and they regurgitate this garbage. So when someone like Lennox Lewis says, yeah, you know what? He's a good fighter, but, he needs to make some adjustments. So when he says things like that, and he's speaking from his own experience, remember, he got knocked out by Oliver McCall, and he had Pepe Correa in the corner, who he turned around and called Pepe Correa a cheerleader. Lennox himself admitted that the guy that he had training wasn't good enough. And he relied a lot on his amateur experience and his amateur skills. And just be honest, Lennox Lewis as an amateur was a far better amateur than Anthony Joshua. So because the Sky Sports team have done so much, they are part of the problem here. Sky Sports are part of the problem. If they were non-biased, if they were giving you a non-biased opinion and they were giving you the facts about Anthony Joshua, rather than blowing the smoke up his ass for every pay-per-view event and saying things like Adam Smith said something stupid like, this is the best Vladimir Klitschko. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Because if Fury beat an old Vladimir Klitschko and Fury told you he was an old Vladimir Klitschko, how can a guy 2 years later, right, who has been inactive and sat in his ass, be a better Vladimir Klitschko than Klitschko of 2 years ago? And he was old back then. It don't make no sense. And it was one of the greatest fights in heavyweight history. Well, let's just break this down a second. That fight was not greater than Holyfield Bowl 1. No, sir. That was not Holyfield Bowl 1. No, sir. No way was that a better fight than Holyfield Bowl 1. That fight was not better than even Holyfield Mike Tyson. That wasn't a better fight than that. It wasn't a better fight than James Buster Douglas against Mike Tyson. It wasn't a better fight than that. You know, you had a Razor Ruddock against Mike Tyson. It wasn't a better fight than that. Remember, Klitschko came out of 2 years inactivity to fight Anthony Joshua at age 42 or something like that. Think about this. Think about this. So because Sky said, that was a great fight, it was one of the greatest fights in heavyweight history, I'm not saying it was an exciting fight. I'm not saying it wasn't a good fight. I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua, you know, he got off the canvas against Vladimir Klitschko. I'm saying that was great. That was a great feat what he did. But in the grand scheme of things, if you're falling over to Vladimir Klitschko, 42 years old, you've got to start scratching and thinking, well, there's a guy called Deontay Wilder from Alabama that hits mighty hard with that right hand, and he's faster than Vladimir Klitschko. And Klitschko is anti-attack. Klitschko is known for his defensiveness. And you've got a guy in Wilder who's all about attack. And he's a lot younger. And he knocks guys out clean. So I am very concerned. I'm very, very concerned that this sudden attack of Lennox Lewis. Now, I said this going back at the Parker fight. Again, after the Parker fight, that the British public are going to turn on Anthony Joshua, and they're beginning to turn. And if Joshua doesn't do as his masters want him to do, it will turn further, and you know they'll stick the pin in. They didn't have to show Anthony Joshua in that situation with him calling Lennox Lewis a clown. They didn't have to have that. They didn't have to have that. Okay? They didn't have to have that. And the other thing is, let me add this to the equation. When you're constantly comparing somebody, Lennox Lewis did this, Lennox Lewis did that, you're in the shadow of Lennox Lewis, you'll never be better than Lennox Lewis. And you're on this journey constantly talking about Lennox Lewis. And Lennox Lewis is this and Lennox Lewis is that. Listen, Lennox Lewis got knocked out by two guys that you even wouldn't care about. Two guys that you're not going to consider Hall of Fame greats. Okay, just fact. Lennox got knocked out by Hasim Rahman and Oliver McCall. The second knockout, the one against Rahman, was just arrogant. Going from one, that's what you call a clown, leaving from one country in America to go and fight below sea level, and then thinking you're going to be okay, and then get knocked out. Before he got knocked out, he was smiling, and then he got caught with the right hand. That was a clown thing to do. So I understand AJ's ideas. I understand where he's coming from, but there's no breathing space. There's no breathing space for AJ. None. Where's the recovery period? Where's you got knocked out? Where's the rehabilitation? Where's the love? Apart from his family, where's the love? You've just been knocked out. You've been dropped 4 times in front of the whole world. And before you can even catch your senses, you've got your promoter going, we're going to get the rematch. We're going for the rematch. You know, and he's had no time to really get it together. And something like this, a knockout like that, can scar you for months. Look at Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr., when he got knocked out by Tarver, it was never the same fight after he got knocked out by Tarver. People said, oh, yeah, well, it was the weight because he came down from heavyweight down to light heavyweight. Okay, fine. The Glenn Johnson fight? The Lebedev fight? The guy in Australia, that fight? The McAnally fight? Listen, so I do feel a lot for AJ. I do feel for him. But he's brought it upon himself. He's brought it upon himself. And all them people around him that are not boxing people, he now has to look to them to get himself out of the hole that he created. Eddie was talking about the rematch literally 5 minutes after the fight. This is what I'm telling you. This is what I'm telling you, right? And all this doesn't help. All Eddie's looking for is money. And that's what it's about. Money. Nothing else. Nothing else. He has no loyalty to nobody. But that's what I've seen. None. If Ruiz wins again, Joshua is going to be the biggest clown in boxing. But that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. Not going to be good at all. Not going to be good at all. So the hate that people talking about, and then you've got these people, you've got these other people like Anthony Fowler, who took a photo of AJ, was with AJ, I think, and you know, I think maybe GB squad together or not GB squad. Then they were amateurs, or they've been amateurs and they had that amateur connection there as boxers. It's like, oh, AJ's going to come back and he's going to win. He's going to smash Ruiz, and I'm telling you, he's going to smash Ruiz. I'm like, well, look, they're supporting your buddy, and then there's just, you know, you're just going over the top about it. And that's another thing, when people going over the top about this whole, you know, you're British and you got to support your fighter, yes, or you got to support your teammate, yes, you got to do that. You know, you can say things like, you know, AJ gets it together, then, you know, you've got to give Andy Ruiz credit. And people are not giving Andy Ruiz credit. And because you're not giving Andy Ruiz credit, that's why you're going to get whooped again. You've got to give Andy Ruiz credit. You've got to punch when Andy Ruiz ain't punching. And when Andy Ruiz wants a punch, you need to be keeping him on the end of a jab or tying him up and disrupting his rhythm. But can AJ disrupt any rhythm? You can't disrupt rhythm. To beat a guy like Ruiz, you've got to disrupt his rhythm. You've got to force him back. You've got to keep the jab in his face, and you've got to disrupt his rhythm. You've got to use lots of counters. When he's coming, hit him with sharp uppercuts. Yes, Eve. Good evening. How you doing? I see you still have my spanner, Eve. So, and in the rematch, Ruiz will jump on Joshua. He'll jump on Joshua. And the other thing you take into consideration, he has a world-class trainer in Manny Robles. A world-class trainer. World-class. Proven. So remember, if AJ can improve, just because AJ can improve, Ruiz can improve too. 5 weeks. That's what he did in 5 weeks. If you look at my breakdown video, all Ruiz had to do to disrupt AJ was this. Watch me. That's all you have to do. He's coming in at AJ and just do this. Because AJ doesn't have a jab. His jab is not effective enough. So all Ruiz had to do is do that. Just move the head a bit. Move the head a bit. Move the head a bit. And walk AJ down. Because AJ walks in straight lines. If somebody is brave enough, go back and look at the amateur video footage of him versus Nista in the European Championships. Oh, AJ's improved since then, has he? He's still walking back against the ropes. He's still having problems against like short heavyweights. He's still getting clipped walking backwards. So yeah, AJ was seeing double when they started talking about rematch. AJ Ruiz jumped on Joshua and Klitschko didn't. Maybe that's the key. No, the key is that you're looking at two totally different styles. When you're looking at Andy Ruiz, you're looking at a swarmer. Go back and look at my breakdown of the video. I keep saying go back and look at my breakdown of the videos because that tells you exactly what to expect. Ruiz is a swarmer. I said, this is how Ruiz, and I'll do the breakdown again for you to remind you. This is how Ruiz beats Joshua. You go back and look at the Klitschko fight, you go back and look at the White fight, and you go back and look at the Povetkin fight. 3 fights. Oh, and you go back and look at the Takam fight, 4 fights. Now, Takam is a slower version of Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is more explosive than Takam. And AJ was having problems with Takam technically. He was having a lot of problems. Even though he's bigger and all this thing about his size, he was still having problems with Takam. So take that into consideration. The height. Then take into consideration his vulnerability to the left hook. We saw that against Dillian Whyte. I said Joshua is most vulnerable. If you listen to all my videos on Joshua, he's most vulnerable when he's on the attack. Not when he's on the defense or he's behind the jab, he's fine. It's when he decides to go for it and open up. Much like Amir Khan, they don't know when to. Their boxing IQ is not great. Their boxing IQ isn't great. So when they engage and open up, that's when they get nailed. That's why Joshua got nailed. The Dillian Whyte fight, look at what's happening to him. He was engaging with Whyte. He thought he had Whyte going, then got nailed. Look at the fight when he fought Povetkin, open to left hook, wobbled in the second round. Look at the Klitschko fight. And all the guys that had fought previously up to the fight, they weren't swarmers. Ruiz is a swarmer with fast hands. So I'm saying to myself, okay, if Ruiz gets AJ hurt, he's going to throw 4 or 5 punches before AJ can recover. And eventually, that will drop AJ. What happened? AJ can't change his style. He cannot change his style. His body and the way he boxes. So what are you going to say now AJ is going to do? He's going to get on his toes and try and box. So, like Ruiz has told you already, there's only 2 ways AJ can win this fight. He can win it off the front foot, he can win it off the back foot. Right? If he tries to win it off the front foot and engage him, he'll get knocked out. If he tries to run off the back foot, he moves straight lines. And if Ruiz just moves his head faster and comes in close, all he has to do is do this. All he has to do in the rematch is when he comes into AJ, there, quick, because AJ hasn't got a jab. It's not the panic, because AJ doesn't know how to deal with distance. He's fine when you're out there like this, but as soon as you start coming mid-range and up close, Panics doesn't know what to do, because he doesn't know how to tie up and hold and bring you down and turn you. All these tricks he would have learned with a better trainer. Doesn't know how to tie up. Lennox Lewis, one of the things he was great at with Vladimir Klitschko, one of the things they teach you in the Emmanuel Stewart way of training is you're boxing, your chin is here, and when you throw 2 or 3 punches, you don't see him throwing many punches. You don't see Klitschko throwing punches to the body. Everything's up here, and you're just using the jab and keeping them. And the chin is here when you're jabbing. This here, you're committing with the jab and the right hand. You watch Klitschko carefully. 3 punches the maximum he'll throw in a combination. So he cannot get countered. Jab, you jab. And when you come in close, Klitschko's tying you up. He's holding you up. He's tying you up. Oh, when you come inside, hit you with the uppercut and tie you up. And then walk you back to the ropes. Or lean on your back. That takes the energy out of your legs. Taps the energy off your legs. Then you reset and you have to go again. AJ can't do that. That's fighting in phases. AJ couldn't do that. Evander Holyfield, when he fought Mike Tyson, fight in phases. So the game plan would be when Mike wants to fight, tie him up. And then when Mike is resetting, then you hit Mike. So, and then when you tie Mike up, walking back to the ropes, because when you walk Mike back to the ropes, put his feet in walking back to the ropes, he squares up, and Mike can't throw punches that way. You push him backwards. So the momentum, his punching power is less, but he hasn't got that range. So Holyfield walking back. And then they break, and then Holyfield takes second of the ring again with Mike and use the jab to keep Mike off. And when Mike got close, tie him up. And then when Mike didn't want to fight, then you engage in fight with Mike. So you're fighting in phases. Joshua can't fight in phases like that. Joshua hasn't got the IQ or the patience or the ability to fight in phases like that. He really hasn't. He hasn't, because he wouldn't have got caught the way he got caught by White. He wouldn't have caught the way he got caught by Klitschko. He wouldn't have had the struggles he had with Takam. This is his record, his CV. This is what he's done. Watch the video, watch the fight tape. So all these things that people are expecting AJ to do, he hasn't done them in his fight so far. He's not done it in his career so far. And remember, fighters fight in patterns. So what you're expecting AJ to do now would require him to get a new trainer on board, right? Because he's been training with McCracken for all these years, right? He's get a new trainer on board and a new ideology. The sad thing is, boxing fans, is that if you're going to get a new trainer in, you need at least three fights before you start to see the change. Like even with football, and you get a football manager in place. So the first game a football manager comes in, you might get moments of seeing, oh, that's what he wants to do in new system. He's brought this person, he's brought that person in. But you need 5-10 games to see that manager's real, what he wants to do is tinkering the system. But people are expecting miracles, like miracle workers working for Joshua. Like one game, what's that, just one situation, he's going to come in, everything's going to change. No, you need time. You need time. You need time. Do you know what I mean? You can't, like, it's like now 3 months, you're in the gym, you're working out, and let's say you're lifting weights and you're lifting, let's say for argument's sake, 100 pounds you're lifting, and your target is to get to be able to lift 150 pounds, let's say. All right, get to the argument's sake, yeah, it's 100 pounds you're lifting and you're okay with it, 100 pounds. We want to get you to 150 pounds. All right, it's going to take you time to get from 100 to 150 pounds. It's going to take you time, and you have to build. And it can be some days you ain't going to want to do it, and then other days you're going to try and do it. And time is where the muscle grows. Time. It takes time. And has Joshua got that time? Has he got that time? Physically, has he got that time? Mentally, has he got that time? Because people are constantly banging on about that fight over and over and over and over, banging on about how he lost to Ruiz, Then he's still got to be doing all these PR stuff, and he's got to be in the camera, and he's got to be talking about the fight over and over and over again. He's got to break down. He's got to say, "Oh, this is what I thought about the fight," and then people are going to criticize him for what he's saying. So I wouldn't want to be in Anthony Joshua's position now. I tell you now, I wouldn't, because he's got the physical side, he's got the mental side, he's got the emotional side, he's got the spiritual side. He's got all those things to take into consideration. And all Andy Ruiz has to do is get in the gym, get fit. You've got 10 weeks to prepare, study the first fight, watch from how you got knocked down in the first fight, and look to improve. So AJ, mentally, I mean, where is the mental support for AJ? People talk about mental health, and this is a big thing. People talk about mental health. Who has he got to talk to? Who is AJ's mentor? Where's Rob McCracken and all this? Surely, who's he talking to? Who's he getting guidance from? Who is guiding him to put out these videos? Who's guiding him to do this training? Who is the person doing all this training with him and making him going backwards on a treadmill? Who is telling him to do that? Who is advising to do that? He needs help. And nobody's talking about the ramifications of the first defeat. I mean, what's it going to be like when he gets back into sparring again? What's it going to be like when he gets hit on the chin again? Is he going to fall apart the first time Ruiz hits him on the chin? Come on. Come on. Talk to me. You know? But okay, if somebody can seriously tell me that AJ has improved, go from the amateurs to now, I'd like to know where. Because if he's improved from the amateurs to now, he would be having this. He hasn't got Ruiz problems. He hasn't got Takam problems. He hasn't got White problems. He hasn't got Klitschko problems. He has got Nista problems because he hasn't dealt with that. Ruiz was juiced in the States. That's why he doesn't want to fight anywhere else. That's rubbish. That's absolute rubbish. Listen, I knew of Andy Ruiz when people weren't paying no attention to Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz was with Abel Sanchez. Andy Ruiz was hit big depression. And he talks about Andy Ruiz and his depression and how the same haters on Twitter and social media told him that he was fat and overweight, right? And because of that, he quit boxing. And he went and worked on a construction site. That's what a lot of you people don't know. And then he came back to boxing to prove the doubt was wrong. He went to work with his father on a construction site or building, something like that, because their family's got business. So let that be known. The haters created Andy Ruiz. So all you out there that are hating and were hating on Ruiz and hating on fat people, thank you. You created the Mexican champion. And I, for one, am happy. Danny Garcia versus Danny versus Khan, absolutely fight school. Doesn't know when to engage. Do you think AJ win the rematch? No, I don't think he's going to win the rematch. I remember last year you predicted the fans would turn against AJ, apart from Eddie. Of course, I did tell you, didn't I? And now it's happening. Absolutely, not even on the juice. Do you think that AJ is cracking up? Well, it's getting to him, isn't it? It's getting to him where he has to resort to turn around and telling Lennox Lewis that he's a clown. He could have kept that behind closed doors. And people will bring that up about him. They will bring that up about AJ. And if he loses, even if he wins, he's tarnished. Ruiz knows AJ wasn't right. You can sense a lot of in the ring, let alone everything else. Noticing Ruiz was scared. Ruiz is scared, and he knows he got lucky with AJ that night, not real AJ. So when AJ dropped to Ruiz, that wasn't AJ then. That wasn't AJ then. When AJ dropped to Ruiz, it wasn't AJ, it was somebody else. Because if AJ had finished Ruiz off, you would have been saying how wonderful and great AJ was, and he was the best thing since sliced bread, and he's the greatest heavyweight in the last 20 years. Don't talk rubbish, mate. AJ went down. AJ dropped Ruiz and then got dropped. Much like the Klitschko fight. Don't talk rubbish, mate. AJ done. AJ need help. People mentally weak. Where McCracken is AJ on crack. McCracken is happy with his 5 million a year doing FA. AJ is a gangster on only G shit. LMO. That's so true. Peter James. Ruiz took AJ's best shot and fought back. The man got beat fair and square. That's correct. He got beat fair and square. English speaking, simple facts as always. He got beat fair and square. Don't tell me the next conspiracy theory will come out now is that AJ's a clone. It wasn't the real Anthony Joshua, but it was a clone of Anthony Joshua. This is the same Anthony Joshua that got dropped by Klitschko, remember? He's just not that good. He's just not that good. That's all. Sky has built him up to be greater than Muhammad Ali. That's how they've built him up to be. Okay? And because they want to outsell Warren with Dubois and Joyce and everything else, they've got to sell Joshua away because they've got to sell pay-per-view, remember? So they've got to make Joshua larger than life. The problem with that is when you're actually trying to sell a car and you're selling the car as being a Ferrari, and then you actually put it on starter and it's racing against everybody else who's got like small engines and can't drive very fast. They can't go very fast, and the Ferrari's blowing everyone away. And then suddenly the Ferrari meets one that's just maybe just as fast as the Ferrari. The thing is, Matchroom haven't got a clue. They have not got a clue. Why is nobody stinging Eddie Hearn for picking Andy Ruiz? Why is nobody jumping on Eddie Hearn? Why is it this guy keeps getting through all the time? I mean, this is the guy that basically said, yeah, let's have Andy Ruiz. I mean, the investors in Anthony Joshua, I mean, this could have all been avoided. Why would you make your American debut against a guy that just was tailor-made to give you a whopping? Like I said before, they took the wrong Eddie to America. AJ got no jab. He's stiff Jack. Jack the Ripper pissed himself. Andy Ruiz Jr. He's got a number. It was Anthony Joshua's second brother. Yes, but everyone has said something wasn't right. Yeah, it's around here. It's called the chin. There's something right here. Right here. That's what the problem was. When, in your opinion, should Frank push for a world title shot against for Dubois? End of next year. End of next year, I think. Hearn picks any fighter he can sell to casuals. Boxing is secondary. Yeah, he hasn't got a clue about boxing. Eddie Hearn has not got a clue about boxing. Not a clue. Not a clue. He actually believed Danny Jacobs was going to beat Canelo. Really? He actually believed that Joshua and Wilder and Fury fight wasn't going to happen a day out from the fight. He didn't believe the fight was going to happen. He suddenly thought the fight was going to get cancelled. Really? But nobody pulls Eddie up about this shit. Nobody pulls him up about it. Nobody pulls him up about this shit. Nobody pulls him about it. Sky Sports, a Sky Direct pay-per-view company. AJ, great retail boxer with no jab. Michael, where you from, buddy? So this is it. I mean, does anybody want to bring something to me that I can say, you know what? I haven't quite thought about that. But like all these people that are signing for Matchroom, yeah, you'll get paid. But there's no guarantee your career is going to go where you want it to go. There's no guarantee your career is going to go where you want it to go. Now, look, Joshua's been sold down the river. Katie Taylor was exposed by a part-time police officer. The great, what's his name? Josh Kelly, the great Josh Kelly. The best fighter that Adam Booth has seen ever and worked with ever was exposed by our man, Ray Robinson, on the channel. Exposed. So that was a whole night of exposure. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom were exposed that night in the USA. They were exposed. Callum Smith against garbage. So when people talk about Matchroom and guys signing for Matchroom, there is no guarantee, and that with a big dog, which is AJ now, there is no guarantee that Lawrence Okoli or Buatsi are safe. My message to Lawrence Okoli and Buatsi: get out. Get out. Billy Saunders is signed to Matchroom. That's not going to end well. I'm telling you now, it's not going to end well. Do you know why it's not going to end well? Because there's a track record. Again, let me ask you a question. And I want somebody in here who watches new gen, next gen. I don't watch next gen. I personally think it's a load of garbage. Personally. Not the idea of young fighters fighting and getting exposure. That's brilliant. I think that's fantastic. What I find the problem with is, what's the progression for these next gen fighters, and from the progression, where do they end up? Do they end up being pay-per-view stars, or they end up getting beat at European and British level? Didn't Anthony Fowler come from that next gen? Didn't Cheeseman come from that next gen? Did Lewis Ritson come from that next gen? And then the excuse comes out of, well, they're going to get stepped up. When they get stepped up, they're going to get beat. No, dummy. That's because you're not matchmaking properly. That's why you've got a matchmaker. And if your matchmaker's garbage, then that's what happens. So it's matching with the right fight at the right time. That's boxing management and boxing. That's people who are invested in fighters. And I don't see that. So if somebody can tell me the success rate of next-gen fighters to pay-per-view stars, I would like to know. Next-gen fighters to European and world champions. Please let me know somebody block Peter James, please. Thank you. The conversion from next gen fighter to world champion, next gen fighter to European champion, world champion. How many of those guys go on? I'd like to know. I'm very confident of Ruiz winning the rematch and will place my largest bet to date on this. Block the clown. Peter James, you total muppet. Yeah, they're just trolls that come in the room. They're trolls that come in the room. They're paid trolls. So it's all right. If Joshua knocks down Ruiz, I think the referee will wave it off immediately and will wake up on the mattress of money. Of course. Oh, the fool is gone. Yeah. So please, can somebody in the room, of the 33 people or more in the room, can somebody please tell me the success rate of next gen? Please, I'm begging. Because I want to know what this success rate is truly. Because if I'm talking rubbish, let me know. But I've just seen a lot of people go from next gen and then get smashed afterwards. Like Lewis Ritson was the next Golovkin, right? He was the Newcastle of Golovkin. Like the Newcastle of Golovkin. What? So I don't get it. Ian McKenzie says none. So it was like it was fashionable to sign with Matchroom. Next Gen was a gimmick to take away Saturday night's fights. Okay, it's the equivalent of a stocking filler at Christmas, just all year round. How do I rate Bacoli's prospects? Well, I thought he was really the business until Michael Hunter came in and beat him up and down. He fathered him. That was like a father and son relationship. He abused Bacoli, and Bacoli hasn't fought anybody of that talent and stature since. So I don't know where Bacoli fits. There's big talk of Bacoli from Billy Nelson's point of view. He believes Bacoli beats Joe Joyce. Sam Jones thinks that Joyce beats Bacoli. Make the fight happen. I'd like to see Bacoli versus Dubois. That's a fight I'd like to see. Sky Sports commentary rubbish. Bring some backbone. Jim Watt and Ian Dark. This is reckless boxing. Oh, reckless boxing. I mean, I'd love to have Jim back. I love Jim back. Jim's great. And Glenn McCrory, bring him back as well. Bring those guys back. Bring Ian Dark back. He was great. Well, call to make. Right. Hunter Fury's next fight in the year. I sincerely hope that fight does not happen because that's a bad fight for Hugh Fury. All the Sky Next Gen prospects have been whooped at domestic level. So I think that says it all. Right, I've got to get out of here. I've got a call to take. So I'll see you all later. Like, subscribe, share the videos, please. Let people know about the channel. And I really appreciate you all. The current the current Sky team are not great. Smash the like button, people. Yeah, I'll see you a little later on for Football Manager. See you soon. Thanks for the support.